Can't hear you.
Hey, Podnutz. Welcome to the Mini PC Show, episode 119. This is all about big talk and little machines. This show is brought to you by Jim C. Thank you for supporting us on Patreon in August 2020. Your support is greatly appreciated, Jim C. And I want to thank everyone for their support throughout all the times that we have gone through, each and every one of us. For those who can still partake and support those who support you, I definitely appreciate it. I also try to do my part and support people I listen to. If you would like to be the kind of person that goes out of their way to try to help people, try to support people, then I definitely encourage you to go to patreon.com/the mini PC show. Link will be in the notes. Tonight I am joined by Brett. How is everything going, Brett?
It's going pretty good. Can't complain. A lot of stuff starting to happen in 2021 already. So at least computer wise. So that's always fun. How about you? How you doing, Dor?
I would say I'm doing okay. I rebuilt my Pi hole. Running it through Diet Pi, it seemed like once every 8 months or so, it would become unresponsive and it would still work as a DNS black hole, but the admin interface wouldn't work.
Okay.
So then I finally broke down and said, look, I'm just going to build it in air quotes the hard way.
Yeah.
Come to find out, it might have been almost as easy just downloading Debian or Buster. Buster or the other version of Debian for Raspbian.
Wheezy?
I can't remember.
Jesse
Yeah. Or Buster. So I just downloaded Buster, flashed it to the SD card, booted it up, did my normal Linux nerdy apt upgrade, update, full upgrade, auto remove, auto clean, blah, 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 until it shut up. And then it was literally copying one command from the Pi-hole website to get my Pi-hole up and running.
I've been seeing that more and more where it's just it's one command, everything's already built in, and yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of a lie that it's one command, but it is because it's the wget or the curl command to download the .sh file, and then a pipe symbol, and then the command to run that downloaded file. So
yeah,
and it's just that. That's all it was. It gave me a temporary password. I immediately SSH'd into my Raspberry Pi 3, and I did the Pi-hole command to change the password to what I want it to be. And
of course,
it seems pretty solid so far.
Well, that's good. That's good to hear. How does it do as far as like just in general DNS black hole? Is it pretty good, or I haven't messed with it at all since my dad freaked out since he couldn't get to his website and wandered it all off.
Well, I'll say since I first tried it the very first time, you had to go out of your way and find people's list to add to it to make it worthwhile.
Okay.
When I installed it from a straight Raspbian Buster, one command, blah, 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 it asked if I wanted to implement some sort of default blocking list. And so far, that's all I've done.
And, that's nice.
And on the 2 computers that are on this network that I use like normal computers, I don't want to say I'm seeing no ads, but I will say I'm seeing dramatically less ads. But I also know for a fact I don't go and I don't do what normal users do, because I don't know if you've seen this, Brett. How many times in Google search do you get prompted to fill a CAPTCHA because it thinks you're a bot?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I get that on Google.
I get that on everything, but yeah, especially Google lately.
And I get it on DuckDuckGo. I get it on Quant. I get it on Start Page. I gotta believe normal users don't get those prompts.
No, I get them all the time, but you know what? You're right.
You don't mean normal there, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're not normal.
So in the realm of mini PC, I'll say adventures. What I'll say is, I have the Pinebook Pro. There wasn't significant upgrade to the Debian that I'm using for show stuff. Where now, via the USB C port hub, not only does the external HDMI work, but now also the external NIC works. So I'm really liking it. Yeah, I'm liking it as a semi like production box where I literally might try to upgrade it to be a stronger presence in my stream feed.
That's
is
good
what
to
I'll say.
hear. That's good to hear. Yeah, I know that's been one of your one of the things that you've been working towards for a long time.
Yeah, and I'm going to. I told Rich I was going to last week, but pain and time didn't wasn't on my side. I'm going to ship him my the Pine phone that I got from the listener because I honestly believe he'll put it to more day-to-day use than I would.
Nice. Yeah, no, I agree. That'd be he'd like that. I've been thinking about getting one too, just because. Why not? You know.
Right. Well, and I have the Pine Tab, and I'll say both the Pine phone and the Pine Tab. I'm going to put this as nice as I can. They both suffer from the same thing, and the same thing is availability of software just isn't there, and that's just people just need to compile more for the processor, and then that solution will be just null and void. The driver like acceleration that they're doing is, I think, really good. They don't have the full like HD graphics rendering like snap. They still need a little bit of work on the camera stuff, which I don't really care about. But
Yeah,
if you want to be like respected and on par with a Pine Tab to an Android tab, or even the lowest end iPad, or you want your phone to be in the same ballpark as $150 to $200 Android device, there's still some work that needs to happen.
Yeah, but it's just I was going to show I have the TT Go watch. I did get one of those. Still haven't done anything with it because the firmware that you have to use with it is so buggy. It's updated quite regularly, but it's just there's no use in doing anything with it right now. It's a really neat watch. It's fun, but it doesn't do much, and the battery doesn't last for half a day.
Oh yeah, the battery. If I'm lucky to get 4 hours out of it, I'm happy because it just sucks the battery dead. You can customize like the background. You can do like little things to it, but there's really not a lot. Now I'll say the complete inverse. Following the Pine 64 blog, the Pine Time, which is their version of the watch, which is only $25, is near functional on so many different levels. Where this watch,
you have to do everything yourself.
You have
like
to
100%. Yeah.
Yes. And I will say there's more than a couple of people I've seen on YouTube that really try their best to try to make it useful, functional device. But it's the kind of device where even if I were to wear it all day, I would have to take it off like 3 times a day just to charge it.
Yeah. In fact, I put a magnetic charger on it this afternoon, and it worked pretty good. But as far as like actually doing it, it's But I will say this: I did get the Wise, the little Wise watch, and it's okay. I know there's a lot of skeptical, or there's a lot of people that don't like Wise, or whatever. But for $25, they're not spying on anything that's important to me.
Right. Well, I'll say, I like try to tell my kids there's only 2 things you as a human being alive in this universe can not say: never and forever.
Yes.
Those 2 things don't exist. And absolute privacy or lack of privacy doesn't exist. So we have to pick and choose what we want to be more private with and less private with every, encounter we have with technology. I personally believe Wise is a fine company. I don't think they go out of their way to sell user data. They might capture some user data, but I don't think they're doing anything with it.
Yeah, that's what I'm just like, maybe, and like you said, not forever. They may, with all the data they get, they may do something with it in the future, but just like what is it? What's been in the news lately? The
Fitbit or the WhatsApp
SolarWinds.
or
SolarWinds.
SolarWinds.
Yeah, I heard Malwarebytes.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of companies out there that I want to believe shouldn't be hacked, and it's those malware companies that I think should be better than normal companies, but apparently
Yeah.
Malwarebytes thinks they got bit by the
Well, they
SolarWinds
say,
hack.
yeah, they say it was because of the Azure Microsoft. You know, at least that's what I have a buddy that's been following it pretty good, and we were talking. I mean, because based on past experience that I won't talk about right now, any hacker worth his grain of salt has a contingency plan. So I don't think they're out. I don't think they're stopped. But
oh no, they're not stopped at all. They were in there. Trust me, they did everything they wanted to do.
exactly.
And at the same time, you and I both know, and everybody knowledgeable knows, they also set up other side channels that they can access later. They're in no rush.
Yeah, exactly. It's the long game on something like that, and that's always been a true art of the what do you call it, the long con.
Yeah. The active persistent threat that's just there.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So on the RV front, what kind of things do you have going on with your IoT mini PC stuff?
Let's see. So right now I have a Raspberry Pi 3B Plus running my 3D printer. I have I have 7 of them just sitting there waiting to be used. I have the Google AIY kit, the original AIY kit, that is actually really good, and you can do offline voice recognition on it with a button. That's one thing I've been setting up with my Home Assistant. I've been messing around with that Home Assistant. That's going to be a fun one because I have all my little ESP32 lights. The only thing right now, I'd like to put a button on most of them because everything is voice activated right now, which is cool, except when you don't want to say anything loud, or you don't want to talk too much, or I mean, I live alone, so it doesn't matter, but I would like a little button that I could just hit and have it turn off, or I'm also working on a manufacturing thing for doing some lights, so that should be fun. But as far as the RV, my next thing is going to be automated fan control, because it gets down to about 42 in here when it's cold. And I'm too lazy to get up and shut it off because it's on the other side of the RV.
Well, to me, that's the whole thing. The only reason to do IoT is the same reason why, because I'm old here, Brett. The same reason why the clapper existed back in the 70s.
Exactly.
It's so the senior citizen could just sit there and go and turn off the TV or turn on the lights or whatever, because we don't want to have to get up and do everything at every point in time.
Exactly. And that's what I see with like Home Assistant being as robust and crazy as it is. I have a tablet that it's a Lenovo tablet that is right in my doorway when I walk in. I use the Fully Kiosk browser. When I walk in, the camera sees me, and it just sees motion, and so it turns on, goes to my Home Assistant, and it works. It shows weather, shows all my media that's been playing or is playing, and there's so much you can do with it. I mean, everything from just turning on a light when you get home to playing a specific song depending on the time of day, depending on when you get home. I mean, there's so much you can do with it, and everything can run on a Pi. There's a lot of people that are kind of against it. What I'm probably going to do is do a Pi 4 with a M.2 driver, or M.2 drive. So it'll be a little faster than the SD card and a little bit more reliable. Although I've never had one go out.
Oh yeah, if you buy, I'll say this, respectable SD cards, and
Yeah.
but maybe even more importantly, and you have like a quality power supply with it, and not just something that came with like a $15 phone or something you buy at the dollar store, the likelihood of having hardware failure to me is really uncommonly low. I mean,
Yeah.
I ran OwnCloud on a Banana Pi Pro for 3 years, nonstop, through
that's
brownouts
pretty,
and blackouts, and nothing ever failed.
Well, speaking of brownouts, I had because I have that big old server on, and it's a, it's way overkill for anything that I'm using, and I'd like to replace it with a bunch of mini PCs, but it's dual 10-core CPUs, so 10-core 20-thread each. It's got 230 gigs of RAM. And so it's got 18.5 terabytes of storage with a 12 terabyte parity. 1 gig NVMe drive that's plugged directly into the PCIe.
Damn.
Oh yeah, it's something that I wanted to learn, so I got all the parts super cheap. Because it is an old server, I was able to get everything very cheap. But and I actually, one of the brownouts actually killed the motherboard, because I guess my surge protector wasn't good enough. So I was able to get another motherboard, and then I decided the new motherboard, it draws 100 watts at idle, which, if you're thinking about the server, is not bad. But you're thinking about a Pi that pulls 10 watts at full draw,
Yeah. Old servers, the only I'll say this, I'm going to lie. There's 2 downsides with old servers, but there's upsides as well.
Yeah.
Compatibility, ease of finding parts, ease of expandability is like endless and phenomenal. The only 2 downsides are the amount of power it pulls and sometimes the amount of heat it can cause. But otherwise, you get like tremendous like bang for the buck. As long as you're not paying a lot for your electricity, you could literally do what only supercomputers could do like 10 years ago, even on a 5-year-old server with the proper software.
Yeah, and so what I actually have is I have the whole computer built into what used to be my propane tank area. I took the propane tank out, so it's on the outside of the RV. And yes, everything is in the RV. So that actually helped out because it's fire retardant. And I had a graphics card explode a couple days ago, or catch fire and shoot fire. That was fun. But yeah, so it's flame retardant all on the inside, so it was it's a good place to put it, but it'd also be a good place to put a bunch of pies, so I don't know, it's something I've been battling with.
Well, I mean, the best thing about that hardware is you could easily spin up like isolated VMs in x86 stuff to do, I mean, like never-ending, unimaginable levels of, whether it be file sharing, media sharing, hosting web servers, hosting your own wikis, hosting your own media servers, hosting your own streaming audio kind of things. This is 2021 and the possibilities are near endless. While I am a huge fan of mini computers, the macro computer, for right now, ain't going anywhere because it's just so much it can do.
Yeah, and the main thing you said, it was x86. If I could and I know there's the Latte Pi and there's the, there's a few x86 mini computers out there, but I do 3D design, so it's kind of a thing that I need an x86 and at least single core performance a little bit, because I found out recently most CAD software is single core. It uses the graphics card, of course, but it's not a multi-core system. It doesn't pull from more than one at any time.
Right. And I will say, yeah, like you're hinting towards one of the, I don't want to say sad truths, but it's just a truth because it is. Hardware specification, whether it be ARM, whether it be x86, whether it be RISC-V, whether it be anything, none of that matters. None of that matters how many teraflops it can produce. Nothing matters how much heat it can do. Nothing matters about how much power it can draw if their software is not properly configured and compiled for the interface.
Correct.
Which is why, this like arms race, it's quite literally, I feel like it's an arms race that we are like witnessing. We are seeing some amazing things being done on devices that people didn't think were possible. The Raspberry Pi, because the Raspberry Pi just got a new release like maybe 3 weeks ago. And if you just go through the particulars about all the things that were updated, it's truly becoming desktop-like level of.
Is it really? That's awesome.
It's close.
That's awesome. I was looking at some of the links, and the o-droid Go is just the little. Let's see if I can find it. I think it's a test and teardown, but Dreamcast games on an o-droid Go, which is the same. If I remember right, they put a quad core in it now, and it's just it's crazy, and it's the size of a Game Boy. I've been messing around with doing like the Dreamcast, the VMU. I have some circuit boards that I can mess around with that will allow me to put a Raspberry Pi in it, or a Banana Pi, that four core one, that's the size of a Raspberry Pi Zero. And they're just what you can do is just crazy, and like you said, it's getting smaller.
Yeah, the o-droid Go Super is not technically out yet. It is coming out soon. ETA Prime on YouTube does have a like review copy that he was like playing with, kind of thing. And what I'll say is this.
Oh yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah. The main reason I'm attracted to such a device, it isn't really about the processor or the RAM or anything. It's
because it looks like a Switch.
Well, but it's the screen size.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
I've seen plenty of old school emulation devices out there that are below $120, and they all seem to do what I want to do exquisitely.
Yeah.
Atari, NES, Super NES, Nintendo 64 era of stuff. And this one seems to do basically everything superbly, but it also has a 5-inch screen. I'm old. I'm getting blind. The bigger the screen, the better. Most of them have 3.5-inch screens, which are just too tiny.
Or 1.4.
Yeah. Or they're just too tiny. And I'm not going to be like 1880 and put like a big magnifying glass over my screen just to make it appear bigger.
I just saw one of those for the Game Boy Color. I watch every once in a while. I'll look up YouTube for the old stuff that came out with the old Game Boys. Like there was a keyboard extension.
Yeah.
And so, but this reminds me actually of, I think I actually talked to you and the group about it for a while. Was creating something just like this, like that looked like a Switch, but played retro games, and I just did not have the resources to even try to do it. So I'm so glad they came out with it, because it's something that I would want.
Yeah, and I was watching, and I don't know what it was. I don't think, and all I know was a Simon Whistler YouTube show. I don't think it was Mega Projects. I don't think it was Today I Found Out. I don't think it was Top Tens. I think it might have been Side Projects, where he was talking about old TVs and Russia. And when Russia first started making their own TVs, think of the bezel and the screen. Like 90% of what was presented to you was the bezel, and the screen was literally like 3 inches big. And when you bought the TV, it came with like a 10-inch magnifying glass to put in front of it to make it appear like it was a 10-inch screen. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
No, I agree.
I trust. There's only a couple companies I truly say with like honesty that I really do trust with their build quality, their support, their operating systems, and their communities. Pine 64 is one of them. Raspberry Pi is obviously one of them, and o-droid is the other one.
o-droid, definitely.
The difference between o-droid and Pine was o-droid tried to present more, I think, consumer-facing goods, where Pine was more hacker-based.
Yeah.
But they're starting to blur to where they're both really offering stuff that you don't have to be a nerd. You don't have to understand code. You could buy one of these devices and literally put it to use in like 20 minutes of your time and have something that you could walk around and other nerds would be envious of.
Yeah. And speaking of that, I was 12 when I bought my first Arduino. And all that came with was an Arduino and a box. It was packaging. Like, it didn't come with the USB port, the printer cable. It didn't come with anything, and you had to work so hard to do anything, and that's what made me fall in love with electronics. I mean, I did my first LED project when I was 12, so that's and I know I've talked about this a few times. It's just the difference between what you could do then and what you can do now not only is crazy, but it's also easier, and it's more user friendly.
Yeah. The way that I describe it to the layman is barriers are lowered. Every day, with everybody collaborating and working towards common goals, barriers just continuously get lower and lower and lower to where you don't need to be an expert. Dare I say, it's the Geordie LaForging of technology, to where you could run a starship and literally only have one person actually understand how everything works, because everything else just works, to where all you got to say is computer navigate to, and it just works.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. And it's getting there a lot quicker than I think any of us thought, to be honest. Like, they said in 2000 we'd have flying cars back in the 50s, but what's going now is just so different, but at the same time the technology is increasing so quickly. It couldn't have been imagined 20 years ago.
Yeah, our worst talent is prediction.
Yes.
We never know what's going to advance and what's going to be slow, because and here's the thing. A year ago, during Android App Addicts, we were asked about predictions, and I just went off on a wild tangent, and I said my prediction of 2020 is going to be that we are going to develop biophages, which is basically engineering bacteria to fight viruses and engineering viruses to fight bacteria. And while I was at least on the right topic, I was completely wrong.
Yeah.
Because,
no, I can. Yeah.
Yeah, because we can never tell what is going to be advanced. One family member of mine is terrified that, in air quotes, AI is going to kill us all any day now. And AI is not going to even become even close to real for like 20 years.
Yeah. And
because we're slow.
Yeah. And, one thing I heard was will either become house pets or will be ants, you know?
Well, I mean, the way I'll put it is nothing is ever as dramatic as we picture it to be.
You're
When
right.
machine learning and AI starts to become a real thing, it's literally just going to be a tool in our tool belt, kind of like how a doctor uses x-rays or MRIs.
Yeah.
The doctor will then be able to take a certain like part of his job and just offload it to machine learning to let him do more of the personal sitting down, communicating, encouraging, and figuring out, what's the correct path to do, and let's talk this kind of thing out.
Yeah.
Dare I say, I believe all of this computer education of itself will allow humans to be better humans.
I hope so. And, because, yeah, I mean, humans are not good humans right now in a lot of cases, and a lot of, there's a lot of negativity, and that there's no need for it, but there's plenty to go around.
Well, then I say let's get off the negativity.
Yeah, anyway.
There's 2 links in the notes because we have not. Okay, first off, if you're looking at us on the YouTube, one of the very first lines in the YouTube description, or what's called commonly the boobity boo, is a link to a Google Doc because there's too many notes. Each note is about 4 lines of content. There's the separator, there's the title, there's the description, there's a hard return, and then there's the URL. We literally have 21 pages of notes. Okay.
Wait, what the hell? I only got 7.
I'm pretty sure it's 20 pages long, technically. The
Wow.
first 2 links that I wanted to talk about we're not going to go into any details, and there's a reason for that. They are Pine 64 monthly updates. There's a lot in the update. There's a lot that we could go through, but there's honestly too much to go through on this podcast. But I got good news for everybody. They have started summarizing their monthly update in a YouTube video. But
that's neat.
But there's even better news as far as I'm concerned. They admitted that they're going to basically start a Pine 64 podcast. And I'm not upset at all that I'm not involved. There's no bitterness. Yeah. There's no upsetness. There's no. When the podcast does become live, not only will I listen to it, not only will I provide feedback to them, not only will I interact with them like a normal user, but I will make sure that it is in our show notes because, again, few organizations doing mini PCs, in my opinion, are as transparent as Pine 64. So I just wanted to mention them and say they're starting a new podcast. They have a good video series to go with their monthly update. And in their monthly update, they have been incredibly transparent about all the things that are happening. Right now, the Mobian Pine phone is going to be going on pre-order here any day now. So if you're a fan of Mobian, the reason to buy this phone is 10% of all proceeds from buying this phone will go right to the Mobian project. They've been doing that with every phone that they've been selling.
Well, that's good. That's nice. And there's one thing I wanted to bring up was the 3D vision, the industrial grade 3D vision, and we were talking about it earlier, and it does use the same technology that I have in a big computer. It is the Intel RealSense. And it uses the same camera, but I usually have to have a big computer to justify using it because it pulls a lot of data, or it feeds a lot of data, I should say. So that one's pretty neat, and the fact that they could get it all in one piece is really nice.
Do you know which line in the notes that is?
Yeah, that is one of the last pages. I don't see any lines, though. Let's see. Let me bring up lines.
Was it augmented reality on the cheap with the ESP?
No, it's the industrial grade 3D vision camera. Should be the last, second to last page.
Oh yeah, using the
The rock chip.
RK3399.
Yeah, that's been a pretty big favorite, hasn't it?
Well, I mean, I really don't want to sound stupid. I don't want to sound pompous. I don't want to sound like I told you so to anybody out there. But what I'll say is this. I know for a fact I said it has to be 2 years ago that the RK3399 processor will be one of the most important processors in mini PCs for a reason. It was early adopted into the Chromium, the Chrome OS ecosystem. Once a processor gets like christened, baptized into that ecosystem, a lot of eyes start to go towards it. I knew for a fact that this processor had much more potential than a lot of other rock chips out there because of its speed. It was faster than it should have been. It's using the very standard RISC processor language, and the Maui graphics processor was like 2 steps ahead of where it should have been. So
Yeah.
I knew it would like catch up and it would be important, kind of thing. And it's been
No, I remember
proven to
that.
be
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah. So maybe not all predictions are inaccurate.
Well, I mean, the more vague you are, the more likely you're going to be successful.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Still going through a few of them. I had a couple of them bookmarked. Oh, the HP Elite. That was an interesting. Uses a Snapdragon, and it is. Let's see, where is it in the note?
Oh, the HP Elite. Oh, I want to say Folio is what it's called.
I think it's the Folio. Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it. But it's a beast. Shows 24.5 hours on video playback on one charge, and that's absolutely nuts in my opinion.
Well, yeah, that's the thing that it has to be emphasized to people. It's 24 hours of battery life, but it's not 24 hours of battery life with the screen turned off. It's not 24 hours of battery life navigating a GUI. It's not 24 hours of battery life using the command line. It's 24 hours battery life of video playback. That's frigging insane.
That's crazy, especially local. I mean, it's just like, it's not watching a YouTube video. It's actual transcoding. Whatever. It's just nuts. It's crazy, and it's got a neat pen. I like it.
Yeah, exactly. The fact that it has a pen slot built right into it. Oh, that is so. Look, I'm the guy who, when the first Note was announced, I was giddy just because we might actually get like real usable digital pen devices. Did I buy one? Hell no, I didn't buy one. I can't afford one.
I have a Note 3, Note 5, Note 8, and a couple Note tablets.
But I mean,
I got them all used.
Right. I am infatuated with the idea of content creation where I'm typing, and then I gotta create something that these characters can't comprehend, and using a mouse is too clumsy, and I could just right there above the keyboard push it, pull the pen out, and right on the screen draw something eloquently in seconds. This is the kind of device where I don't want to say I don't care how much it costs. I just need somebody to make it, so then somebody else can say, hey, we can make that too, and then keep driving the price down further and further and further to where in like 2 or 3 years, maybe I could get something like this for maybe $400 or $500. This is the kind of thing, CES just happened, and they're talking about all kinds of, like, as far as I'm concerned, complete crap. This is not getting enough attention as far as I'm concerned. An ARM-based
you're right.
laptop with 24 hours of battery life, a built-in pen that probably is going to be able to compete with a lot of other Chromebooks and laptops. I look forward to this because the CEO of Intel literally stepped down not long ago.
I didn't even know that.
any investor right now is saying the last thing you want to invest in is Intel.
Yeah.
AMD is rumored about designing their own ARM chip. Microsoft is rumored about designing their own ARM chip. RISC-V processors are growing at such an insane rate. Don't be shocked if in 2 to 3 years from now, when we talk about mini PCs, we're not talking about ARM processors anymore, but instead we're talking about RISC-V processors. And
Yeah.
Intel will be like, you want to look at like old stuff like in museums, well, then you go look at an Intel chip.
Oh yeah. Intel's days are numbered. I believe it's crazy. Like, I never thought I would ever say the next computer I want to build will be an AMD. You know, those were just not words that anyone, any nerd worth his weight in salt would ever say.
Well, they said it like 10 years ago, but only as like pre-hipster like fandom thing. I want to be different. I want to like support the underdog. I want to build an
Oh
AMD
yeah.
computer.
But, you know, they've just completely destroyed everything.
Yeah, and I mean, um, the progress they've made in the last like 3 years, I don't know if anybody could have seen. But I know if I had enough money as Intel had, I should have seen it coming.
Yeah, we all, you know, I mean, Intel really sat back and just kind of coasted for way too long. I mean, I have a Gen 2 i7 that really could compete, except for the wattage. It can compete with some of the Gen 8s, Gen 7s, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will also say another link in the notes that I just wanted to talk about, just briefly, was just Hope Springs eternal for ARM servers. Kind of like how nobody believed Linux would ever be anywhere, and the common saying was always, "It's the year of the Linux desktop." Um, Linux quietly went into server farms and quietly like took over. But
Yeah,
we
they
talked
did.
about it for like a decade, and then all of a sudden it just happened. I believe it's going to be the same kind of thing, I want to say, with ARM servers. With everything moving to, in air quotes, cloud providers, whether it be Amazon, whether it be Azure, whether it be anybody else, Linode or anybody else, applications that are being made more generically on more generic frameworks, a lot of web-based stuff. The more that happens, the more likely all of a sudden ARM is going to be made by the hardware manufacturers in such a format to where it will behoove people to, the next time they're in their upgrade cycle, to not buy Intel, but instead to buy this, 300 core ARM thing that only takes up 2 OUs in the server
Yeah.
rack, and save in heat cost, save in cooling cost, save in upfront cost, and save in power cost, thus making shareholders really happy.
Oh yeah, definitely.
When that happens, I firmly expect people like me to think, well, now ARM is officially old. Let's move on to the next processor, and that's going to be like RISC-V or something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will say I'm going to enjoy the ride until then. The things I'm able to do on Raspberry Pi form factor hardware still like utterly amazes me. How I can have servers running connected to NVMe drives, connected to
Yeah.
external SSD drives, port forwarding through my local router, having files and data and structure and media shared from here to New Zealand and back again. And it
Oh
just
yeah.
works.
Yeah, and it works phenomenally well. You know, it's just, yeah. I have no words for what the difference is from, you know, even the Raspberry Pi 2. You know, it's just like the Raspberry Pi 1 was just trying to get kids to program, but once they actually started realizing what it can do, everything just took off.
Yeah. The next one I just wanted to bring up, just because it, like, there's a little piece of my heart stuck with this company, and that is it's a link, CNX software enabled system news. Banana Pi BPI M5 SBC with 4 gigs of RAM, 16 gig of flash, launched for $53.
That's nice.
This is the exact same form factor as a Raspberry Pi. Okay, same 40 pin GPIO. Ethernet and NIC, I believed, are on the opposite side of the USB versus the newest Raspberry Pi. But it's 4 USB 3 port,
That's nice.
which is really rare. It has a full size HDMI port, not those
not the
stupid dinky
minis
ones
or micros.
Whatever, they're so stupid.
And what's kind of neat is it does have an infrared and infrared receiver, which I know nobody really cares about that, but it's neat to be able to build a box that you can control with any remote.
Right, and it's the kind of thing, as long as you have line of sight, which will be much greater than, it has the potential to be much greater than Wi-Fi or Bluetooth range, you can control it. And it has 4 gigs on board of LP DDR4, which I believe is good DDR. It might not be the best DDR, but I do believe it's really good DDR. And it's using the AM logic, is the way I put it. S905X3 quad core, blah blah blah, up to 2 gigahertz processor. The reason I mention that is not because I mentioned that; it's because it's the same processor that is being used on more than a couple SBCs, which means the people who want to port their operating system to this board, and that they already have it on other boards with the same processor, it is much less work. Okay.
Yeah.
Because the board specs are only like half of the equation. I'm gonna know. The board specs are only a third of the equation.
I'll agree with that.
The other third of the equation is what software is available to it, and the other third of the equation is the community around it. Banana Pi is huge in Brazil for a reason. Their import-export laws are very not friendly to the rest of the world, but their open source community is phenomenal. I believe if this board gets any traction, it will be in the top tier of boards, hopefully in the next year. I'm going to keep my eye open for it, and if it does seem like it's getting any traction whatsoever, I really do want to buy one and just play with the OSs to see what kind of stuff I can get out of it. And again, unlike stupid British Raspberry Pi people, this board has a genuine reset button. It's not hard.
I did notice that.
Yeah. All I want's a button. A freaking button.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say, side shout out, and I don't know how to pronounce his name, Jean-Luc Affranc, from CNX Software. I've been following this guy since the Google Plus time. This guy single-handedly feeds me maybe more information, more factual-based information, and some of the best opinion pieces that I've ever witnessed about single-board computers. If I were to do a dream podcast with somebody about single-board computers, I'm pretty sure it would be this guy plus Rich plus Brett plus Joe Heck. And I think we could pretty much solve all the world's issues.
I agree with that. I don't know about me, but for you guys, that would be great. That'd be an interesting one.
Yeah, and I do believe Banana Pi challenges certain ecosystems to try to do better, and I think they do a really good job. It's just a question of, it's really difficult to keep up with people like Banana Pi, people like o-droid, people like Pine 64, but they're trying.
Yeah, and the Banana Pi M10 something that came out a while ago is quad core in the size of a Raspberry Pi Zero. And the only problem with it was it did get hot. But the the idea of having a quad core smaller than a credit card was kind of neat. It was really neat.
Yeah, absolutely agree. There's going to be more than a couple links also to some Risk V, and anybody who calls it Risk 5, I'm sorry, you haven't done your proper research. I've watched now, okay, let's just get this out of the way. I've listened to over 7,200 hours of news and like C-SPAN in the last year. Okay. So, a fair amount of that news is technology focused. Anyone who calls it Risk 5 has not listened to any of the professionals talk about it. It's Risk V. I'm sorry, RISC V. Risk V. That's what it is. That's what it's called. That's what they call it. That's what it is. Okay. Risk V was a processor instruction set created by college professors wanting to have an completely open ecosystem in order to teach how this kind of programming at this low level can work, because nothing else was as open for them to teach. So they literally created this fictitious processor based upon this code set and said, here's how we're going to teach how processors work. Somebody later said, well, let's make it a real processor. And they did. There's a really good link on embeddedcomputing.com. Risk V, too open to fail. Okay. I beg people to understand something this open that's already being picked up by countries. You have India, you have Vietnam, you have Indonesia, you have like another like 3 or 4 countries with multi-million-dollar investments this year, 2021. This year have already put in multi-millions of dollars to make Risk V processors on their own. The likelihood that Risk V is going to be successful is kind of like, is Michael Jordan going to dunk the basketball? Is Wayne Gretzky going to score a goal? Is Pele going to do a flipping maneuver and, shoot a goal right past 3 people? Is a ball that's hit going to get past Cal Ripken? No. Okay. This has no choice but to be an incredibly popular and successful architecture in as little as 5 years, maybe 3 years. And the reason being is transparency. Okay.
Yeah.
Tangent. You want to solve?
No, that's fine.
Do you want to solve politics? It's easy. Introduce transparency. You want to make police something that all parties are liking and are supporting? Easy. Make it transparent. You want to make education something that both the kids, the parents, and the teachers all agree with? Easy. Make it transparent. You want to make a processor that's the most successful thing that's ever happened, that everybody can trust, that they're not being spied on, that they're not being snooped on, that there's no things in there that they don't know about, and they can create anything they want towards? It's easy. Make it transparent. And that's what Risk V's done. Everything is transparent. So, I mean, if you're like 14 to 17 years old right now, and you want a guaranteed job anywhere in the world when you're 20 years old, you have 2 choices. Well, okay, 3 choices. Python development, security as a service, or Risk V programming. There's at least one guy I know who's in the chat right now who kind of says, he has a job thanks to me, because he listened to me when he was in school. Hear me now, believe me later. This processor is not going to take over the world. Okay, we're always going to have Intel processors. We're always going to have ARM, Snapdragon, Mac ARM processors, or whatever. But this Risk V processor is going to take such a huge bite out of the market. Investors will realize, and companies will realize, and developers will realize how easy it's going to be to take what you're already doing on Qualcomm, on Snapdragon, on Mac, on ARM, and just transition it over to Risk V. It's going to be kind of insane.
Yeah, it's And I honestly didn't know, at the start of this episode. I'm glad you clarified what it really was, because I didn't know much about it. But it makes sense, and like you said, Python, um, and security, especially security. But when I was 14, my dad told me, learn CAD and you'll always have a job. And that's been quite, but the problem with it is the barrier to entry is getting so low. Everything's getting a lot easier to make things, but it's still that background of having it that has helped me, at least.
Yeah, and like comprehending how to convey what someone's asking you to make into a three-dimensional model in an expedited fashion. The similarity I'll say is it's like being an architect. It doesn't matter how good you are at the tools. What matters is how quickly, how accurately, and how well can you design something to withstand in a timely fashion. Because if it takes you 6 years to do it, nobody cares if it's good or not. You have to do it now.
Well, that kind of comes into mind with my desk. It's a cool desk. It's a great desk, but it's falling apart. Well, not literally. It's splitting in a part that I was worried about, but it just gives me a chance to redo it, live and learn.
Exactly. Yeah. Two more like quick links I want to mention really quick. One, it's really not mini PC related, but it's at least associated, I'll say. They literally had a trillion transistor chip. Okay.
I saw that.
Yeah. I want to say it's literally like 10 inches by 10 inches big. Oh, I can't remember the physical dimensions. It's gigantic compared to any processor you've ever seen in your life. Okay. And they put this one chip with very minimal hardware around it versus a very respected supercomputer, like in the top 50 supercomputers in the world. And this one chip destroyed it. Okay. The number of transistors in a chip is almost like saying the number of chemical connections in your brain. The more connections you have, the more possibilities you have, because you have RAM, ROM, processor, hard drive, all these different levels of computing. They all really do similar type things. One of the questions is how quick can it do it, and how quick can it be rewritten? The processor is the quickest of anything to do anything. You could do math in RAM if you wanted. It's just slow as hell. So we do it on the processor because that's what it's basically best at. Making gigantic chips is going to open up so much stuff here in the near future. And you will have literally trillion transistor chip companies providing explicitly specific solutions to very, very niche markets and charging them a hell of a lot of money for it, kind of thing. To where, like, when we want to do like split second, dare I say, like facial recognition for a picture that contains 20,000 faces, we're going to have to offload this to a trillion chip processor.
Yeah, and it's 8.5 inches side to side. And I think it's square. It looks like it.
Yeah, and that's thing 8.5 inches, which I believe is about the size of like my first motherboard I had.
Yeah. Probably.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, when I was a kid, the amount of heat that thing would have put off, you could have like turned like lead into gold with that much power.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And one more article link I at least wanted to highlight, and it's only because it's like, predicting the future kind of thing. It was a Fast Company article where it said the new Raspberry Pi is a keyboard PC. Period. Great, comma, now turn it into a laptop. We in the like mini PC world for like 5 years have been buying these weird aftermarket solutions to try to make our Raspberry Pi into a laptop. Pinebook did, Pine 64 did the Pinebook and the Pinebook Pro, which is essentially taking a Raspberry Pi type form factor, turning it into a laptop. I'm going to tell you people right now, January 20th, I believe, 20th?
Yeah.
2021. Raspberry Pi will come out with a laptop. They will come out with an official Raspberry Pi laptop. I'm going to guess before early 2022. And it's only because it's the next logical step. We have the Raspberry Pi. We have the Raspberry Pi with its little case. We have the Raspberry Pi with its little case and a fan. We have the Raspberry Pi now built into a keyboard like a Commodore 64. Woo, time travel back to the early 80s. And it's literally just a custom printed Raspberry Pi board inside of a keyboard with a huge metal heatsink on it. All they got to do is now make a lid for that keyboard and put a modest screen inside of it. That should not cost a fortune, and I can tell you right now, it's going to happen. It's just a question of when.
Yeah, it's definitely going to happen because I mean they came out with the 7-inch touchscreen long time ago, and you add three of them, you add the two of them together, and they're already almost there. And like you said, it's the next logical step. I got a next dock. It's got no motherboard, got no RAM, got no processor. It's got HDMI in and 3 USB-C inputs. One for charging, one for USB output to control the keyboard, trackpad, touchscreen, and one for like the Samsung DeX. And that is one of my favorite contraptions that I've used in a long time. I think if they market it towards server rooms, it would be a beast because you can go up to any server, plug right into the actual server, and bring up the console. And that's they have the roll around screens and stuff like that, but this would just be a laptop.
Right. Very cool. I will say, this is early 2021. I am still every day, every couple weeks, I am definitely shocked and impressed at the progress on the hardware, but also the stability and maturity I'm seeing in some of the software for these single board computers. It is very plausibly possible that you could spend less than 60 to 70 bucks, have a, in air quotes, complete computer that you could give somebody, to where, they're not going to be doing, high-end rendering. They're not going to be playing the latest Cyberpunk 2077 in 4K. They're not going to be, watching the latest thing from the latest people in the highest resolution or anything, but it's going to be a very competent computing device. It's about, like we said, lowering the bar. The bar that is being lowered is a double-edged sword. Okay, it's letting other people get on this train, this gravy train we call computing, with a much easier step. It dumbs down certain things in air quotes. But what we have to remember is sometimes we got to just take a step back and make sure that we maintain security, we maintain stability, and we maintain the ability to be our own administrators when we achieve enough education. I think people like Raspberry Pi and Pine 64 are the kind of people we don't have to worry about with that kind of thing. They do a pretty good job of being as open as they possibly can. o-droid, Pine, Banana, Raspberry Pi. I think they're all trying to be a good citizen of this computing world kind of thing. And we're going to see some great stuff in 2021. That I'm pretty sure of.
I'll agree with that.
So is there any parting things or any last topics you want to cover there, Brett?
I think I'm good. I don't want to run on too long. Other than my my desk I've got to redesign, I'm pretty much just learning or just setting up for a long quarantine again, probably. I don't want to I don't want to go out too much and, risk being stupid. But, yeah, I'm having fun being inside anyway. I've always been a hermit.
Yeah, I tell you, man, for the first 30 years of my life, being afraid to talk to anybody or being around people, the simple fact that now I just put on a mask and when I walk through a store, it's expected. I'm not supposed to get too close to you.
Yeah.
And I'm not supposed to talk about too much stuff is perfectly okay by me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
It
my
really
my
is.
thing, my thing has always been, especially going out, is do what you need, get back in, do what you need. I would go out, but I'm not that big of a, I've never been a partier anyway. That's just not me. But yeah, it's nice that it's not expected.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll be sad when we go back to, in air quotes, normal.
Oh, I will be too.
But with that said, if you are like us and you're not normal, you're abnormal, you can support other abnormal people that don't stop every 5 to 15 minutes and blatantly shove things down your throat because we sell you, we sell your ears, we sell your attention span to people who you don't like and you don't want to hear from, whether it be a VPN service or whether it be a male enhancement thing or even like the male trimming things that I'm hearing. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I didn't know it was getting that bad.
Yeah, like Leo Laporte was like some sort of like male trimming device.
Groomer.
Yeah, like male groomer hygiene device. I'm thinking to myself,
gross. I mean,
Leo,
yeah,
you're like 60
bad,
years
yeah.
old. What's wrong with you? If you enjoy not having being put through such a thing, again, you can go to patreon.com/the show, support us directly. You can go to patreon.com/podnutz if you would rather do the entire network as a whole. We did just have a near $400 hosting bill that popped up that I owe my wife a little bit of money towards. That came through. My phone device is cracked, bent in part. I have my Pinebook Pro that's doing me really good. My Pine Tab, they're doing me real good. But we always need more stuff because we're nerds.
Of course.
And I beg people, if you like us, do not leave us a review. Apple released a paper last week admitting reviews never come into the equation of popularity or ranking on their algorithm. So if you listen to a podcaster that tells you how much it helps to rate and review a podcast, they're the type of podcaster that have no idea what they're doing, the same way that there are athletes out there that don't understand how health goes. There are race car drivers that don't understand how cars are built.
That's blasphemy.
It's it's true. There are drivers out there that just don't know.
Oh, I know.
There are podcasters out there that have no idea how podcasting works. Don't leave anybody a rating and a review. If you want to support the network, email them. Let them know that you support them. Let somebody else know, hey, I found this good podcast. You might like it too. Or if you have enough free money, float them a buck or two. It'll make everybody feel better. And it's been scientifically proven that when you donate to other people, you get a dopamine hit in your brain and you feel better, which is part of the reason why I try to donate to as many things as I possibly can. I want to thank Rich for all his support throughout the years, Brian for all his support throughout the years. I miss Eric Ardini, who was the original host of this show with me. I know. Thank you, Brett, for coming out.
No problem.
Don't forget, always have root on whatever your IoT devices is, but also whenever you want big talk with little machines, you know where to go to. The Mini PC Show. Thanks, guys.
Have a good night, everybody.
Okay, stop that local recording. Stream still going. Stop that local recording. 1:10. That's good. Damn near perfect.
Perfect.
Okay,
I keep hearing things. I'll be right back.
Okay. I have to run to the bathroom. Okay. Recently got a R340 that I'm using for storage. And I love it. T340. Do I know what a T340 is, SGJ? I can't remember. Oh, the Power Edge. Yes, I do. See, we used to have them at work. They were really nice boxes. Okay, I'll be right
Yeah,
back.
I actually, real quick, I have the T420, and
Ah,
it's the Power Edge. Yeah, but yeah, that's my beast.
yeah.
Is the 340 the four CPUs?
I don't know.
I'll look it up real quick while you're gone.
8 drive bays, he says.
Oh, nice. That's what mine has. Four CPUs and 1.5 terabytes of RAM.
Two. Okay.
That blows my server out of the water, to say the least.
Well, my server's a Rock Pro 64, so yeah, kind of killed mine too.
Yeah. Wow. My cat was good. She didn't get all pissed off. Been sleeping the whole time.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, so now. Okay. Let's move that to there. Start up VirtualBox. Now, what I need to do, sadly, is I believe I was having this my main rig lock up on me a couple times.
Okay.
I believe the issue is RAM. So what I
okay.
now do is on my Pinebook Pro, I SSH into my main rig and I load Bash Top. Bash Top is like H Top, but sexy as hell.
Really? What's Bash Top? Is it like a remote?
Well, all it is a command line ncurses base activity monitor to where in one screen
okay.
you see processor utilization.
Oh, that's nice.
RAM, swap, network, processes, and you can easily like stop, kill processes right there.
That's super nice.
But I'm gonna keep a close eye on my RAM usage because I believe every time I had issues, I was critically low on RAM.
Memory leak, you think?
No, it's because on most boxes I run, I never run swap. Because
okay.
To me, the real reason to use swap is A, you just don't have enough RAM, or you intend to hibernate.
Oh.
I don't do either one. This box, my main box now has the lowest amount of RAM of any thing I use, which is 8 gigs. Everything else has 16 gigs in it. And my VM was configured like I had 16 gigs.
Oh, okay.
And I'm too lazy to go back and fix it.
Yeah. so it didn't know.
Yeah, so like right now I'm using 5.9 out of available 7.66 RAM, and my processor is 80%, 86%, 78%, and 76%.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but am I coming across poorly in this?
No, not at
No.
all.
Okay, yeah, see,
Yeah, you're good.
I know this i7,
That's
I
pretty
think,
cool.
handles it quite well.
Yeah. I actually have, let's see, I have, for that little laser that I have now, I'm building a little table with a little, I think it's 2nd gen i7 in a Dell E-Series.
Gotcha.
And yeah, it's just, I wish, I was trying to figure out how to use that fanless thing, but I installed Linux on it, and then I installed Windows back on it, and all the drivers can't be found, period.
Huh.
Like, it's completely unique drivers. It's really weird. Like, you can't even, like, find them online anywhere. Ubuntu is the only one that has the actual drivers that will work, and you have to rename them.
Huh.
Yeah. So, anyway, I'm going to get going. I got some work I got to finish.
All right, I'm going to edit this and get it published.
I got to figure out how to redo this desk also.
Yeah, I mean, when I came to that crossroads is the way I'll put it. I ended up just buying like 2 sheets of 3/4 inch plywood.
Yep.
And I want to say it was 4 or 5 2x4s.
Yeah.
And quite literally, it's 7 foot wide, 3 foot deep.
Yeah.
Just ugly ass wood. I mean, it is
yeah.
ugly.
Well, what I like about mine is the fact that I have all my wires in between the actual, so like the top of my desk and the bottom of my desk, there's a 2 1/4 inch void. So all my wires go in it.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so it's really cool and it works really well, but it's really falling apart. So I know what to do next time is not use 2 pieces of wood. Just use 1 piece. And I'm just going to make it a little longer in certain spots, a little shorter in certain spots, and But yeah, anyway, I'll talk to you later, bud. I can't hear you, but I figured you're being
Sorry.
nice.
Yeah, thank you for coming out, man.
Oh no problem. It was great. Okay. That and that.
Okay. I got to edit this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, kill that. And then
also creates a greater level of transparency.
Should have audio now. Yeah. Okay, I do. See, I turned off the mumble and I turned on the Hangouts audio. And yeah, my processor, everything is above 85%. The RAM is up to 6.4 out of 7.6 gigs. Ooh, okay, that's done. So now let me export. This is an OGG, which is one of the reasons why I asked Brett before we started, can we keep the show a little, let's not make it like, 2 hours long. Because the longer the episode is, the bigger the file, the harder it is on my system, the more likely I'm going to have issues. So we did good keeping it at just about an hour. So what happens if I come there? Yeah, there you go. I think it was Dell drivers he was talking about, Charles. I do believe that. That's annoying as hell. Get out of here. Stupid OBS warning. Gotcha. Well, I can let him know. And I do think he's technically on our Discord. He's just a quiet fella. You know what I mean? But he is there. He always has other things going on, though. Everything's over 88% now, my processor. Dang! 6.46 out of 7.66 gigs being used. Oof. Dang. For giggles, let me close at least my email client. Let's see if that does anything. Yeah, I use an email client. I'm old. Nope. Saved almost no RAM. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. 0.2. Now I'm down to 6.2 gig of RAM. Everything in the processor is above 86%. Ooh, dang. Oh. I can turn off that server. Exporting almost done. But dang, processor should be more sane now. Yeah, dropping into the 60s and 50s. Okay, so now do the same thing to the second file. Yeah, this I think is the very first i7 I've ever had. And this is like a 2 or 3 generation old i7. Everything before that was i5s, which, you know, did okay, enough job kind of thing. But I will also admit I wasn't doing anything crazy heavy. Audio editing is moderately heavy, but I find it's directly proportional to the amount of audio, the size of the file you're doing. Like when I'm doing DDG episodes, which are like 3 minutes long, it doesn't matter if I'm using an i3. It just everything gets done so quick, it's crazy. And yeah, VirtualBox. See, Firefox is still using almost 14% of my processor. I think what generation are we up to though, Charles? Are we up to? We're past the 10th generation, I believe. If that's the case, I do think the oldest I have might be 6th generation. Cannot remember. Yeah, if we're at the 11th, then I want to say 6 is the oldest I have, which is this desktop doing the actual streaming, and my other desktop over here that basically I'm keeping as a backup. Okay, now file export. Bang, bang, bang. Man, I am chewing the hell out of this processor, man. I remember when I tried to do this kind of thing like 10 years ago, if I saw my processor at this percentage, my computer was unusable. I mean, everything was unusable. And yet I'm looking here and it's like 89%, 88%, 89%, 88%, and everything still seems fine. I mean, wow, crazy. Yeah, man. NVMe is boot devices. Oh God, that is so nice. Whenever my sister-in-law's house, she's having hard drive issues. I know it's hard drive issues. And I sit in front of her computer and I hit the power button and I hear and I say, "Is that the hard drive I hear?" And she says, "What?" I said, "Is that the hard drive I hear?" She said, "No." I said, "I think it's the hard drive I hear." She said, "No." And then I like move her monitors out of the way and I'm like, "Oh my God." She has a 5,400 spinning hard drive in her desktop. And it is the noisiest thing I've ever witnessed. And I turned to her and I said, you're not old. But do you remember people's houses when they went from DSL to cable? And how when you witnessed how cable was, you couldn't go back to DSL? She said, yeah. I said, this computer is like DSL. She said, why? I said, because you're using a spinning disk for everything. You don't even have an SSD. And it's like, to boot up is taking like 2 minutes. And I'm like, this used to be like a relic of the past. Like, do you remember rotary phones? Because that's what this computer found. It was the most painful computer I've used in a decade. And I told her, look, I'm never working on this computer again unless you at least let me bring up a SSD and replace your drive with an SSD. Because this is unusable. And she just laughed. No, it's not funny. It's not a laughing matter. It's the truth. Okay, so let me see. Okay, that's good. That's good. So now we close that. Come over here. We load up Q Tractor. Processor did go down into the 60s. File recent. Mini. Yeah, but I don't even know what's next after NVMe. It seems like an unbelievably fast IO, but it also seems like it's really flexible at the same time. So I really do believe we're going to have NVMe around for a while. Oh, man. So while I'm not looking at the chat, Charles, how is your mic going? How much have you played with it? Have you given any thought to like a series or a topic or a thing you would like to try to do as a podcast? Because like I like tried to stay to everybody. Sometimes it's really hard to find time to meet everybody else's schedules. Right now, I'm not doing a good job of meeting other people's schedules, is what I'll say, for a lot of the shows that I'm doing. But I always want to do more shows. Part of the time, it's just, can I sit here long enough and not feel incredible pain to make me want to stop doing everything right now? Turns out right now I have 3 damaged vertebrae, a pinched nerve in my elbow, and a pinched nerve in my wrist. I've never heard of someone having like 3 instances of nerve damage. Oh, no, I gotta stop that. Volume control. Okay, now let me see. Looking good. Okay, so clip, delete, drag everything over, zoom in, do one more sound check to make sure I'm loud enough and Brett is loud enough, and then I can hit export. Once I hit export, no. Brett needs some love. Solo him out. Loop the track. Pull out the EQ. Much better. Much better. Much better. Okay. Brett has a really good voice, but it's definitely it's but if you don't have it EQ'd right, it sounds like dead. Bang. I'm nearly done now. Close, minimize, push. Now, save, track, export audio, mini. There you go. Hey, Greg. 1 terabyte SSD about $100. SSD prices have went insane how cheap they are. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love how drastic storage prices have gotten. Even micro SD cards, SSDs, NVMe drives have just plummeted in price so much. I like any day now, I'm going to be able to buy like a 4 terabyte whatever for like $50, and it's great. Home Lab, all the crazy networking stuff I'm attempting. I'll tell you right now, I am so like networking incompetent, Charles. I know, there's different layers of networking. I understand how they're addressed differently, how they have different like responsibilities in them, but I'm still just so incompetent. Okay, I'm exporting the file. 6.37 gigs out of 7.66 used. Oh, processor 95, 92, 95, 97. Dang, I'm killing this thing. I love it. Oh my God, that really hurt. Have you heard anything about 3D printers being mentioned in the latest stimulus package? Someone I know said there's something in there to worry about, as in buy a printer now while you can. I can't say, well, look, I'm not going to claim that I'm an expert on the stimulus package, but I didn't hear anything about that. The only thing I heard about was in the last one passed right after Christmas. Previously, it was illegal to share copyrighted content. Now it's like step one in making downloading copyrighted content illegal. So a lot of stuff's going to change here in the next year or two. Well, I can say the only thing that they could do is just tariff or tax extra 3D printers, which is definitely plausibly possible, but I don't know anything about it. I would say the two things the government is good at is taxing and spending. So it's very possible. Wow, man, that processor is getting hit hard and heavy and still running them. This is good. This is good. Yeah. Yeah, my batch top is definitely showing like full load. And still, I'm shocked. It says my virtual box is still only using like 37%, 38% of my total processor. Yet my total processor is being taxed in the upper 90s, all 4 cores. Well, and I'll say, if you buy 3D printers from Hong Kong, Banggood, GearBest, you don't have to pay those fees, kind of thing. It's only if you buy it from a U.S. distributor, where if there is any difference in price, it's going to be there. Yeah, with as much going on in 3D printers, I don't know how much of the government really cares about it, is what I'll say. Well, the bad thing about the latest stimulus package was it was 4,578 pages long, and I can't go through that. That's too many pages for me. My head hurts. And then you got to know what keyword to look for, and you got to speak legalese and decipher what they mean by it. Oh, dang, processor went down. Okay, so now close outgoing. Let's check out this waveform. Yeah. Brett's too low. It is Brett. Brett's too low. We can't have that. I don't want somebody to say I was listening to the show, but I couldn't listen to it because every time Brett spoke, I had to turn the volume up, and then every time you spoke, I had to turn the volume down. And I'll say, like I said, how there's a lot of podcasters that have no idea how to podcast. Man, there are so many podcasters out there that literally don't listen to their product ever. And it's like, I got to keep emailing them, telling them, you release this episode and, like your intro music is overlapping everything, or everyone's audio is colliding, or you have the intro, 20 minutes of silence, and then an outro. It's like, I'm not the most professional person ever. I'm not the best anything ever. And all it takes is just a touch of caring, a touch of due diligence, a touch of just wanting to do a good job to just verify what you output. And I say that, and at least 3 of the people I've caught in the last 8 months who've done it are people I really respect and I really like as people. But it's like, don't you listen to your own product? And then they don't answer me when I ask them that question, kind of thing. I let them know there's a problem. Oh, thanks. They fix it. Of course, they don't say I helped them fix it or whatever. They just ignore it. They never let the other listeners know if there's a problem, go back and listen again. And then when I ask them, do you dog food? Do you actually listen to anything you produce? Because honestly, without sounding dumb, Michael Jordan watched every game he played in, every great athlete in the last 30 years have watched everything they've ever done because they want to be better at it. I'm not special. I listen to everything I do because I want to be the most critical of myself as I can be. And there's so many people out there just hit record, do very shoddy, repetitious work, and then just hit publish and then ignore it like it never happened. There's a lot of things about other people I don't want to understand, and that's kind of like one of those things. Yeah, Maryland did try to say, I can't remember what they called it. They didn't call it in the document though, 3D printed gun. They called it what was it called? Like crafted gun or something like that, to where it was trying to slip past people so they didn't pick up on it. They used a code word for it. Yeah. The one thing I didn't know about 3D printers and filament, which made me honestly feel better, and I'm not a tree hugger, I'm not a environmentalist to the nth degree, but what I found out was every single roll of PLA filament I bought is technically recycled. So that made me feel at least better about having so many failed prints and scooping them up and throwing them in the recycle bin kind of thing. It made me feel better that, I'm not taking something and just ruining it. I'm taking something that was already recycled and, trying to give it a second chance and, not being successful sometimes. Because, who's perfect? All right, guys, I'm going to get ready to hop off of here. I will say, Greg, I just took my son Monday to get COVID tested. He hung out with his grandfather, who his grandfather thinks he was exposed. So I'm not going to feel confident that my son isn't diluted and polluted from the COVID until like next week. So around the 27th. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to try to talk to the wife into letting me have either Friday, February the 5th, or Saturday, February the 6th afternoon, evening, open to me to where we can meet someplace and just BS and sit down and have a meal kind of thing. Of course, if he tests positive, then those plans are completely off. And my wife, of course, was really mad at my father-in-law because my oldest son has an autoimmune disease, to which he still doesn't get. We sat down and explained it to him like 10 times what it means to have an autoimmune disease, how it's not contagious, because he swore he didn't want my kid around if what he has is contagious. I'm like, no, it's not contagious. But so far, all of them can taste, smell, are showing no symptoms. But we'll know again. I'm going to go do another rapid test early next week just to be sure that my kid's okay. All right, guys, I'm going to pull the plug on this. I'm almost done post-production, so hopefully this will be published here within the next 20 or 30 minutes. So yeah, Charles, Red, Greg, thank you guys for coming out. Thank you guys for the support. I'll talk to you guys soon.